The rehearsal room still smelled faintly of polish and stage fog when I walked in, 5 months after Yu Menglong's final bow. The piano sat there, closed, silent, its surface still glimmering under the overhead lights that hadn't been switched on since that night. They said he played his last melody here, paused mid-note, and smiled at someone no one saw. But there was more inside that grand black body than the echo of a song. The technician on duty that night had called me. He didn't trust the police, not after the footage went missing. His voice trembled through the receiver. "I think he left something inside the piano," he whispered. "Not music. Something small. Metallic. I heard it rattle when we moved the instrument." I met him after hours. The hallways of the rehearsal building carried the ghost of footsteps. Every tap of my shoes felt like an intrusion. He handed me a ring of keys and nodded toward the stage. "You didn't hear it from me," he said. "They told us not to touch the piano. Said it was sealed for sentiment." "But the screws on the lid? Someone tampered with them." Under the low light, the instrument looked almost human, its curves like shoulders slumped in exhaustion. I loosened the panel below the keyboard. A soft click, then a hollow space. My fingers brushed something taped beneath the soundboard, a slim black USB drive, half-wrapped in faded masking tape. Written on it, in smudged marker, were 2 words, "Play last." I didn't breathe for a full 10 seconds. The technician backed away. "That's his handwriting, isn't it?" He muttered. "Yes," I said. "And he wanted someone to find it." Back in my apartment, I connected the drive to a clean laptop, one not connected to the network. The file directory opened instantly. Just one folder, labeled November 12th, Final. Inside were 6 video files. The first was only 6 seconds long. Yu Menglong's reflection in a mirror, eyes red, whispering something inaudible. The second opened with a piano key pressed down, C minor, and a voice saying, "If you're watching this, it means I couldn't finish the song." Then came silence. A single tear streaked across his cheek. He smiled faintly, as though trying to comfort whoever would see this. "They told me to perform like it's the last time," he said, almost laughing. I didn't know they meant it. The third file was longer, footage of his dressing room. Someone off camera asked, "Is it ready?" His tone shifted. "Yes. It's all on the USB. Hide it where they'll never think to look." Then a sound, the heavy lid of a piano closing. My hands shook as I paused the video. There was something else layered beneath the audio, a faint metronome ticking irregularly. When isolated, it wasn't rhythm, it was Morse code. The sequence spelled "not alone." I replayed it twice, then stared at the screen until dawn. The next morning, I went back to the technician. "You ever notice anyone around him before his last rehearsal?" I asked. He hesitated. "There was a woman," he said. "Always sitting in the back row, recording on her phone. But she was never on the staff list." "Describe her." "Red scarf. Didn't clap. Just watched." Later, I tracked down a clip from an audience member's vlog, posted the night before the performance. In the blurry footage, you can see her, a flash of crimson near the exit door, eyes fixed on the stage, unmoving while everyone else cheered. When Menglong glanced toward that side of the hall, he froze, missed a note, and recovered instantly. Frame by frame, I compared his gaze with the USB inscription. The same nervous flicker. The same coded pause. The fourth file on the USB revealed something colder, surveillance-style angles of hallways, time-stamped an hour before the concert. It wasn't self-recorded. Someone else had filmed him walking alone, entering his dressing room, and locking the door. In one clip, a shadow lingered outside the door for nearly a minute. At the 58-second mark, a whisper slipped through. "It's done. He hit it already." I stopped breathing again. The fifth file was corrupted, just glitch noise and flickers of color, but beneath the distortion, I caught half a sentence. "Don't let them delete the sound." The sixth file autoplayed on its own. Static. Then a slow fade-in. Yu Menglong seated at the same piano, under soft stage light, his fingers trembling above the keys. "If truth has a sound," he said, "it's not silence, it's unfinished music." He pressed the first note. The melody was haunting, fragile, like a secret spoken through broken glass. It cut off midway when the recording abruptly stopped. My screen went black. The drive ejected itself. When I tried to reinsert it, the files were gone. Just a single new folder appeared, unnamed. Inside was a still image, the piano, empty stage, and a timestamp reading 1:43 a.m. That's 43 seconds after the power outage investigators couldn't explain in their reports. Later, I contacted his former sound engineer, pretending to research a documentary. Over coffee, he leaned close. "We used to call that piece the echo sequence," he said quietly. He composed it the week before. But when he played it live, the monitors picked up a second voice, harmonies no one was singing. "You mean an overlay?" I asked. "No. A real voice. Female. Off mic. We tried to isolate it. The waveform didn't match any human signature." He slid his phone across the table. On the screen was a spectrogram, wave patterns intertwined like fingerprints. In the background, a whisper, barely audible, said his name. I left the cafe before finishing my drink. The city lights flickered as I walked, reflecting in puddles like static. The USB was still in my pocket, heavy as guilt. Every instinct said to hand it over, but curiosity felt stronger than fear. That night, I connected the drive again, this time on an isolated offline system. The folder multiplied itself. Dozens of replicas appeared, each named after different notes. A, B, C, E. I clicked E. Inside was another video, just 10 seconds long. It showed the piano lid closing slowly. Then a voice, deep and unrecognizable. He thought sound would save him. It only buried him deeper. The laptop screen flickered, then went dark permanently. I couldn't turn it back on. 2 days later, I returned to the rehearsal hall. The technician was gone, the security booth empty. On the piano bench lay a new USB, silver, not black. No label this time. Against my better judgment, I pocketed it. Outside, a light drizzle blurred the city skyline. I stopped under the awning, turning the small object in my hand. For a moment, I could almost hear him playing again, those same haunting notes, incomplete yet eternal. I took the new USB to an independent data recovery lab. The technician there, different from the first, plugged it in, frowned, and said, "There's only audio. But it's strange, the waveform looks like a heartbeat." He pressed play. The speakers emitted a low pulse, rhythmic, accelerating slightly, then merging into the faint melody of the echo sequence. Somewhere between the beats, a whisper surfaced. "Play last." The technician looked at me, puzzled. "Was that part of the recording?" "No," I lied. "It's just interference." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the piano, the empty stage, the timestamp. I replayed the memory of his voice, if truth has a sound. I returned once more to the hall. It was locked, but through the cracked backstage window I could see the piano again. The lid was open this time, and inside, instead of strings, there were dozens of USB drives, identical, black, marked play last. Someone had been there after me. The next morning, I received an anonymous email with no subject line. The message body contained a single link in the words, "You weren't supposed to find it. But now you have to finish the song." The link led to a live feed, an empty rehearsal room, the same piano, faintly lit. A red scarf hung over the bench. The camera hummed softly, broadcasting silence. As I watched, one piano key pressed itself down. Then another. The melody resumed exactly where the last recording ended. No one sat there. No hands moved. Yet the sound was unmistakable. The chat window beside the feed began to populate with messages from viewers across the world, fans who thought it was some kind of tribute stream. They typed hearts, candle emojis, broken sentences. But the keys kept playing themselves, note by note, until the final unresolved chord hung in the air. Then the feed cut to black, replaced by text. "Truth is unfinished music." Since that night, no one has managed to trace the IP address of that live stream. The piano was removed from the hall, its whereabouts classified for preservation. The technician who first told me about the rattle has vanished. And the silver USB? It refuses to play on any device now. Still, sometimes, when the city goes quiet enough, I hear faint tapping in the rhythm of that Morse code, not alone. Maybe Yu Menglong's message wasn't meant for the world. Maybe it was meant for whoever would keep listening when the music stopped. And I still do. Morning came gray, the kind of sky that hides the sun as if ashamed of what it saw the night before. I went back to the hall again, but the guards were gone. The lock on the stage door hung open, sliced clean through. Inside, the air was colder than memory. The piano still stood where it always had, but now it looked emptied out, its keys coated with dew, its insides hollow. The dozens of USB drives I'd seen the night before were gone. Only one remained, wedged between two broken strings like a tooth knocked loose. It wasn't black or silver this time, it was white, almost glowing under the dim emergency lights. On one side, scrawled in pen, were 3 words, "Don't stop playing." Voice memo transcript, recovered from reporter's phone. If this is another trap, I'll know. But if it's not, if it's really him, then maybe this is where the song ends. When I connected the drive, it didn't open normally. The screen filled with static, then resolved into the faint outline of a room I didn't recognize. A camera panned shakily across the floor, sheet music scattered everywhere, a half-empty water bottle, a scarf draped over a chair. Someone was humming off screen. The voice was unmistakable. Yu Menglong, recording. You're late. But that's all right. The music waits for whoever listens. I froze. The timestamp read 4:23 a.m., 1 hour after his official time of death. He stepped into frame, looking straight into the lens. They'll tell you to erase it. They'll say this was an accident. But sound doesn't lie. Every note carries fingerprints. Follow the pattern, 4 notes, 1 breath. He leaned toward the camera, whispering something I couldn't catch, and the file cut to black. The hum of the hard drive filled the silence, a low mechanical purr that somehow matched the rhythm of my heartbeat. I replayed the audio, slowed it down, and heard it, 4 notes tapped faintly on wood, C, E, G, B, the same code again. But after it came a 5th note I'd never heard before. D. I went back to the hall with a small portable keyboard. The moment I pressed that 5th note, the overhead lights flickered on by themselves. The sound system crackled. A speaker hidden somewhere high above released a looped voice, his voice, repeating the same phrase over and over, "Finish the bridge." A door at the back of the stage creaked open. Inside was a storage closet, thick with the scent of varnish and dust. Boxes piled high, labels peeled away by time. On one shelf, a folder marked Bridge Session A lay half buried under cables. Inside were printouts of music stems, audio layers, and handwritten notes in 2 different inks. One of the lines in blue pen read, "Replace my vocal track, too clear." The red pen beneath it answered, "Done. Keep original muted." It hit me. The USB wasn't the only place he'd hidden data. He'd buried fragments of himself inside the official recordings. His real voice lived under the studio mix, audible only if you peeled back the layers. Interview, anonymous sound editor. We kept hearing it. Every time we muted his track, a whisper would crawl back into the mix like static. The engineers thought it was a wiring fault. But I knew it wasn't. He'd embedded a separate track, a heartbeat loop synced to his pulse. That's what kept bleeding through. I asked where those masters were kept. The editor hesitated. "Storage vault, basement level, Unit C. But don't go alone." I went anyway. The basement was colder, darker, humming with machines that kept secrets better than men ever could. Rows of labeled drives blinked like eyes in the dark. I found Unit C, a small black case, sealed with red tape. I cracked it open. Inside were reels, one labeled Bridge, Final Cut. I slid it into the player. The music began softly, just piano at first. Then strings joined, then silence. After 7 seconds, a faint whisper rode the echo, "You found the bridge." The lights above flickered once more, and something strange happened. The air itself seemed to vibrate. On the dusty wall opposite me, the vibrations shaped faint patterns, waves aligning into words. They spelled listen. So I did. Behind the melody, another recording unfolded, voices overlapping, arguments muffled by distance. Unknown Male 1, delete it. He's not supposed to have that file. Unknown Male 2, too late. He encoded it in the piano mix. Unknown Male 1, then burn the whole session. Static swallowed their final words. When the reel ended, the silence felt heavier than before. I stood there, alone with proof that should never have survived. As I left, something caught my eye, a reflection in the piano's polished frame near the exit. A figure in a red scarf, just for an instant, watching. When I turned, she was gone. Only the faint scent of perfume lingered, same as that night in the audience footage. Back home, I transferred the bridge recording to a fresh drive, labeling it the same way he had, play last. I thought that was the end of it, until my phone lit up at 2:17 a.m. No caller ID. Only static. Then a whisper. Stop listening. He's already playing again. The line cut. Out my window, far across the sleeping city, I could hear piano notes drifting through the wind, soft, uneven, unmistakable. The same unfinished melody. It came from no visible source, as if the city itself was breathing his song. I don't know who's releasing these files now. Maybe the woman with the red scarf. Maybe the system he built to outlive himself. But one thing is certain, Yu Menglong's music isn't gone. It's multiplying, appearing in random playlists, background ads, elevator loops. Every version slightly different, yet all ending on that same unresolved chord. People call it a haunting. I call it a confession that never stopped echoing. And whenever the last note fades, there's always a brief pause, followed by a single heartbeat. Then a whisper, buried deep in the mix, don't stop playing.